Antonio, for the very nice introduction. So, how drinking and smoking can make us smarter. A very quick poll in the room. Who drinks? Beer? All included, coffee, tea, everything? Yeah, everybody. So, you're a pretty smart crowd, I think. And then, who is also smoking, maybe? You shouldn't be ashamed. Yeah? You must be a genius. At education studies, we study the way people learn, the way people get new ideas, the way people get smarter. And we try to think about those things in a different way. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm gonna talk to you about drinking, about smoking, about producing marijuana, about red balloons, and of course also about science and research. So when you go on the street nowadays and you would ask somebody, hey, I want to learn something, I want to become smarter, they would direct you probably to a school or to a university or maybe some online program. If you would ask the same question in 17th century London, they would say, please go to the tea house or the coffee house, because that was the place where most of the new ideas were discussed among a diverse group of people with diverse opinions. And I like this picture because you can see there were heavy debates. This person is really throwing coffee in somebody else's face. So, actually, Stephen Johnson said that those were the places where most of the new ideas were born in that time. So maybe you think this is like, I'm from Holland and this is like the UK, you think this is all like a weird European thing. But that's not the case. America, actually the US has a long history of bars and saloons and taverns, and they play a big role in developing new ideas, in exchanging new ideas. And actually some of the ideas were pretty revolutionary, and some of the revolutions started in a tavern. This is also what we see in schools. We do a lot of research among teachers in schools, and most of the time when we ask them, like, where do you get your new ideas? How do you get smarter? The teachers say, like, not often like I'm doing this professional development program, but for example, one of the teachers in Holland said, well, I go to the smoker's room. So, okay. In Holland you have like a smoker's room inside the school where people can smoke. It's often the size of a closet and very dark, and people burn the cigarettes there. So what she said is actually, I meet with those people who smoke in school regularly. I develop a kind of bond with them, and they're from everywhere. They have different expertise, they're in different grades, they're in different departments. So I get a lot of great new ideas from them, and I can bounce off my own ideas as well. So she said, this is for me really the hotspot to learn. So what does this tell us? If you're not in school and you're still learning something, you still become smarter, there must something else be going on. And we think it's the relationships between the people that enable you to, of course, share your great ideas and pick up on new ideas. So this is most of the times how we look at a formal organization. We draw this hierarchical chart with, of course, on the top you have the boss, the one who's probably this single genius who is, well, disseminating all the great ideas. And it goes down to middle management, and it goes down to the other people. But we think that social reality actually in an organization, and probably this is what you know, looks much more different. It's much more complex. So when you have the same people from the organizational chart, and when you ask them the question, to whom do you go to for advice for improving your practice? So you want some good ideas. Then they would point out like, hey, I go to Jake, I go to Jane, I go to Bill. And what we did is, every one of the nodes in this network is representing the people, and we drew a line between them like, hey, I go to Jake, to John, to Bill, and we drew lines to those three people. So with the help of some network software, we can then draw a whole network, and we can show how the social relationships in this network, how they look like. And what you can see in the middle are the people who are sought out for advice the most. Those are kind of on the intersection of this advice network. They're also, of course, also pretty influential, kind of informal leaders. So you can learn a lot from looking at these pictures and also analyzing them, but just try to find the boss here in this picture. The red nose. Where is he? Somebody sees him? All the way at the periphery. So here. And that actually is of course striking, because not many people go to the boss for advice on improving the practice, so he isn't so influential as you might expect. Looking at all kind of processes from this network perspective can reveal different things. Actually, researchers say that about 80% of the work really gets done in this social reality, this social network. So, being in this network can make you smarter if you're in the right place, maybe in the middle, if you're talking to the right people in the smoker's room or drinking a beer with them. Now, let's also use this network view. Maybe it can also help us to see different things and also to think of different solutions. Maybe it can make us smarter in designing solutions. So let me take you to my home country, to Amsterdam, where of course also a lot of drinking and smoking goes on. And let me take you to the, well, to the area where I think most bad habits thrive. It's the red light district, and of course there is no British like coffee house, but this is the coffee shop, and of course they don't drink coffee. That's what we all know, but they use marijuana, they smoke marijuana. The Dutch have a kind of strange policy, I have to admit. They say, well, you can smoke marijuana, that's legal. You can even sell it in a coffee shop, that's legal, but you cannot produce it. So hey, how does the marijuana get into the coffee shop? Mystery. Of course, this mystery is a little bit illegal, and many criminal networks, of course, try to produce marijuana. And of course, the police tries to fight the crime and tries to prevent them from producing marijuana. Only they have a difficult time in doing this. For some reason, criminals are better networkers than normal people. If you look at, the police had a difficult time, and they went to the University of Amsterdam and asked Peter Sloot, a network scientist, can you help us in fighting crime and look at it from a network perspective? So what he did, he sent out a team of researchers in the neighborhoods, and they were collecting all kind of data, and they found out that this was about the production chain of marijuana and the network. So it's very complex. You have a coordinator, of course, you have somebody financing it, but you have somebody arranging the plantation, somewhere most of the time it's somewhere on an attic of a house. You have people who are manipulating the electric supply, who are protecting the plantation, who are trading the stuff. And what you can see is the bigger nodes are the ones that interact frequently with the others in the network. So possibly you would say those are important people. This is what the police thought too. And what they did is they arrested the coordinator. This is the boss all the way on the top of the hierarchical chart. Got him. But the network still survived. What did they do? They could easily survive. They could easily get another coordinator. It was not like a unique expertise. Sometimes it was even a better coordinator. So by arresting this person, the police was strengthening the criminal network. So obviously they need another solution. What they did is, what Peter Sloot actually said is, you should look at key figures at points in the networks who have a very unique expertise. So he said, you should, for example, the person who is manipulating the electric supply. And what he said is, if you would arrest this person, that drops the efficiency of the network. And he runs some more models. If you arrest the second one, it drops the efficiency even more. So his advice to the police was, look at it from a different way and not go for the boss, which you might expect would be the best way to fight crime, but try to arrest those freelancers who are manipulating the electric supply for the plantation. So this is how it looks like. You take out one, they go to another neighborhood where there is another freelancer, you take him out, you go maybe outside of town, you arrest another one, and then finally you have to go to some other place in the country and there is one left, but when you get the fourth one, the network will fall apart. a much smarter way of fighting crime by using a network perspective. So networks influence us just by being in a network at a certain position, talking to certain people, having certain relationships. We can influence networks, as you can see. We can become smarter by using, by looking at situations from a network perspective. And then the third question is, maybe we can also build networks that can solve problems in a smart way. So maybe we can build smart networks. What would happen if we would look at science and research, for example, from a network perspective? So try to think differently. And that's what we're trying to do in one of our current projects at the Department of Education Studies. This project is called Research Networks, and what we're trying to do is to see if, looking from a network perspective to research in education, if we can build networks that may increase research capacity, that may be quicker in solving problems or in finding new answers to the questions in education, in maybe get a more diversity of answers to the questions. And well, this maybe could be a way, of course, of attacking one of some of the problems in education that are very prominent nowadays. So let me illustrate the potential by a game, a challenge. Finally, the red balloons. A couple of years ago, some of you might have heard about it, there was the red balloon challenge here in the US. They were hiding 10 big red balloons at places somewhere in the US. And it was really everywhere. As you can see, this is where they were located. So what they said is you can get $40,000 if you are able to find those balloons the earliest, the quickest. So a lot of research teams, of course, participated and tried to find them. One of the research teams was the team of MIT. And interestingly enough, they adopted a social network perspective to search for the balloons. So they didn't rent a helicopter and start searching with a handful of researchers all across the US. And what they did is they broadcasted in all kinds of social media and all kinds of ways that the person who could deliver, who could say, well, those are the coordinates of one of the balloons, the first one would get 2,000 of the prize money. So this, of course, increased their search capacity in an enormous way. Many people started to search, is there a red balloon somewhere in our neighborhood? And they were smart and they said, well, maybe we can even increase the network a little bit more, the search capacity. They said, you also get a part of the share if somebody, if you know somebody who can help us to find the balloon, who can point us to one of the balloons. We also give him or her part of the share. So, of course, more people started to participate and say, well, hey, anyone can help us. They started twittering, putting it on Facebook, and even the person, as you can see, the person who could point a person to a person who knew where the balloon was, got a part of the share. So what you did is actually, the network was increasing an enormous amount. So there were, I think, 5 researchers from MIT starting with this search. And at some point, there were more than 1 million people involved in this search for their team. So, good team. And the amazing thing is, they found the 10 balloons in 8 hours, 52 minutes, and 41 seconds. So, just a day work. Now go back to research. That's what Antonio also explained. I do some research on research. So now exchange search capacity for research capacity. How we're trying to think about increasing research capacity in education is to think like, hey, at the university there are small teams of researchers. Anyway, education departments are never that big. So we have a small team of researchers trying to figure out smart solutions to some of the educational challenges of today. But could we increase the research capacity, for example, also by helping people in the field, so teachers in this case, practitioners, teachers, to do research, do research in their own practice and search for answers for those educational challenges of today. So, and not only to, well, to help them do research, but also to encourage them to connect to more colleagues. So to involve more colleagues in their study, in which they get more ideas from them, exchange some of the ideas, maybe collaborate with them in research. So in a way, this is similar to the red balloon strategy, expanding, expanding, expanding the research capacity. And as you can see, the network is growing in a very similar way. We're in the early stages of this study. But already one of the things we can share is there is a program here somewhere in San Diego at the high-tech high schools in which they are training their teachers to become researchers, so to research their own practice. And the thing is, they don't think only about this individual thing. They say, you should also connect with colleagues, share with them, try to involve them in your research, collaborate with them, build an own network around this. So when they go in this program, this 2-year program, they start doing all kinds of things to help them become researchers and also become good networkers. So in the beginning, for example, this is an example, a master's student is just exchanging new ideas with 3 of his colleagues. In the end, well, I think it's 10 or 12. So this is expanding the research capacity in a big way. We hope to learn more, of course, in the next years about all kinds of things, how this works, and well, I will be happy to share this at another moment. One takeaway is, well, social networks, so they can make us smarter. First, being in one at the right place, by understanding them, make smart solutions, and also possibly by building them. And in the end, we are all human, so we drink, we smoke. Some of us may produce marijuana. But the big lesson of today is don't do it on your own. Cheers.